Okay, good news here. A Punch newspaper journalist, Okechukwu Nnodim, and two others with whom he was abducted have regained their freedom. Mr. Nnodim and the two sons of his neighbor were kidnapped by gunmen who abducted them from their houses in the Kubwa area of Abuja around 11 p.m. on Wednesday. It was reported that the kidnappers demanded 10 million ransom for Mr. Nnodim's release.
Well, for more on this, we have Arise News analyst Mahmud JEGA, and also we'll be joined by EMMANUEL OGBECHE, who is the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in the FCT chapter, to make sense of all of this conversation. Good to have you.
Yeah, very warm welcome, gentlemen. But let's start first with EMMANUEL OGBECHE in our offside studio. EMMANUEL, it must be, a big joy for you and the members of the journalist family in Abuja as the chairman for the unharmed release of Nnodim and his two neighbors. What are your thoughts here?
Yes, Chris, we are elated that Okechukwu Nnodim and two others that were abducted are safely back to their loved ones. But the apprehension does persist because the FCT seem to have become a haven for kidnappers and banditry over the past 1 year. From computations that we have been able to do, there have been over 150 plus abductions between 2020 and early parts of 2021. And it's saddening that in particular in this 2021 that we are, over 20 persons have been abducted here in Abuja. This underscores the level of insecurity. We are worried about what has happened and what is happening. I just listened to your headline bulletin that indicated that an assistant controller, a retired assistant controller of immigration, and 3 others were early hours of Sunday morning abducted from and taken from their homes. It speaks to the issue that none of us is safe, and the authorities need to wake up to their responsibility. That is a constitutional guarantee that the welfare and security of citizens remain the priority of government.
A good place to drop the anchor there. Let me come to you, Mahmud JEGA. You just heard the chairman of the NUJFCT Council saying there is, a semblance of lack of adequate security in the seats of power. It's like the police in the FCT command are sleeping on their oars. The commissioner, 150 in 1 year in the seat of power.
It is a terrible record, even though the FCT had been much safer than other places across the country in the last few years. But things are now clearly degenerating. You see, the insecurity all over the country is linked together. When you step up efforts in one area, the criminals move to another area. Now, as you know, up until a few months ago, the Abuja-Kaduna highway was virtually impassable. The highway to Jos, the same one going to Lokoja. But when security operations were stepped up there, it looks like the criminals instead relocated inside the city and are grabbing people left, right, and center. So the security agencies also have to be proactive and mobile and keep changing their strategies.
Yes, I hear you say that the Kaduna-Abuja highway is now passable, but again we see there's still a lot of killings going on there. The question will really be, what are we not doing rightly? If like you put it there, you get them here and then they disappear to other places.
Two local governments in Kaduna had 19 persons killed, several,
Okay, those were not the highways.
Taking a bit of some colorations here now.
Well, like the Birnin Gwari Emirate of Kaduna State has been a very hot spot, more or less, in the last 6-7 years or more. That is because the forest there is contiguous with the forest in Zamfara and in southern Katsina State. And the bandits have really been
taking over those areas.
It's a massive security operation there, including an Air Force base that was established in Beningwari and was bombing some of the camps. But still, imagine what has happened. You know, some of it is what the bandits see as reprisal attack. Whenever the local vigilante especially makes some gains against the bandits, they come back in full force. That explains some of the merciless violence when they surround a village and kill as many people as they can. The same thing in Kajuru, which is more to the south of Kaduna City.
All right, let's go to Emmanuel Ogbeche, who's also still there and listening into this conversation. I mean, it looks like journalists are now endangered species. How worried are you about all of this development, you know, around the kidnap of journalists and, of course, all the insecurity matters that we're talking about?
Well, the issue of the safety of journalists has always remained a very topical issue year in, year out, and one had imagined that government would have worked closely with the NUJ and other sister organizations on the safety of journalists, but this has not happened. Last year, a journalist was killed, Alex Obu, during a protest by the Islamic movement of Nigeria. 1 year after, we're still calling on the authorities, demanding for justice, and justice is still far. Just early this year, officers and men of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps molested some journalists, destroyed their cameras, and forced them to delete images at where they went to get pictures concerning the NIN registration. So we are very concerned that the issue of press freedom has remained very poor. If you look at the Committee to Protect Journalists Press Freedom Index, Nigeria ranks very poorly. And I think press freedom is fundamental to the entrenchment of democratic rights and governance in any country, in any part of the world. Therefore, the Nigerian government owes it as a duty to citizens to ensure that journalists are safe in the performance of their constitutionally guaranteed duties, because it's a constitutional matter. In section 22, the constitution says that the media shall hold government and its officials accountable to the people. And we cannot do that in an atmosphere of fear. We cannot do that when state actors and non-state actors can easily pick a journalist, can threaten, can harass, can intimidate. It is regrettable. And one calls on on the Nigerian government and other concerned authorities to take the issue of the safety of journalists and press freedom very seriously. As we head towards 2023, it becomes imperative that the safety of journalists is guaranteed, because without it, we cannot hold political actors accountable, and we know how election years are in this country.
Emmanuel, sorry, I got to come in here because it's time for us to take some commercial messages. Emmanuel Ogbeche there in our offside studio. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. You're welcome back, and you're still watching Newsnight Nigeria from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Christian Ogodo.
And I am Mamaka Okoye.
Okay, we still have Arise News analyst here, Mahmud JEGA, and also Emmanuel Ogbeche, the chairman of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, FCT Council, in our offside studio and in our main studio here. Madam, let me come back about the competence of the leadership of the Nigeria Police here in the FCT command. I am very aware of a special squad tracking kidnappers and terrorists or bandits within and outside, you know, the presence of the Federal Capital Territory. But do you think that they are doing enough? The right leadership is leading the people aright?
The way things are going now, obviously there is a reason to doubt the capacity or the methods and the response of the FCT police command. I don't know exactly what they are doing. It's possible they may have succeeded in stopping some of the events, but things are clearly deteriorating with all these abductions today in Kubwa, tomorrow in Gwagwalada, sometimes in
Buhari,
in Buhari and all other areas. So even if it is the case that the criminals are being chased from other places and they are flooding back into the capital city, I mean, we should see adequate response, and the police should also keep the public briefed as to what they are doing and what they also expect the public to do.
All right, we still have OGBECHE. Thank you, Madam, for your thoughts. And now let's go to OGBECHE and allow him to give his final thoughts on what's the way forward. You were talking about synergy between the government leadership and the Union of Journalists. What's the way forward?
Well, the way forward is that we must work closely together, as well as ensure that the police works in close synergy with other security agencies, especially cross-boundary synergy. We had the Governor Sule, Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa, not too long ago, raising the alarm over influx of Boko Haram bandits to his state. FCT has boundary with Niger, Kogi, and Nasarawa. We need to, the police authorities here need to work closely with other states to ensure that bandits, kidnappers, and criminal elements do not relocate to the seat of power, because it is really unfortunate in a city that houses envoys, diplomats, and people from other countries that are in this city finding refuge, and for it to become a haven for criminals does not speak well.
It's Emmanuel OGBECHE, chairman of the Nigeria Union of Journalists in the Federal Capital Territory, in our offsite studio there. Thanks for coming on Newsnight. And Mahmud's JEGA, Arise News analyst. Thanks also.
Thank you.